So looking at these numbers, right? and I'm fascinated with numbers. So essentially, I would say this would go to from the vantage point of any Democrat in Gallatin County, Kentucky. But basically, there's 1,000 sure votes that you need to get in order to win any countywide position. So you get 1,000 votes of the voters who are registered and who go vote. If you can get 1,000 of those people to vote for you, you'll win Gallatin County. You'll win the judge, the sheriff, the whatever position you want. So if you can get 1,000 votes plus 3,000 total possible votes of registered voters who don't go vote. So there are all the registered voters. That's the target. And 1,000 voters who voted in the primary. That's all you need is 1,000 of those people to vote for you, and you'll win. 3,000 total possible voters will be in the pool of, everybody else. Out of everybody else, most of those people are registered voters who didn't go out and go vote. So they are registered, but they just didn't go vote. So you just got to get them to vote. You just got to get them to, from point A to point B. Now it's actually you should make election day November 4th countywide holiday. Everybody takes off on November 4th. So you can go vote. It should be a federal holiday. Why is election day not a federal holiday, right? We celebrate empire and war, but we don't celebrate democracy. So that's it. Those are my conclusions. I can get into the specific details of these. You have Josh Neal and Ryan Morris, who ran against each other. Josh Neal got basically 1,000 votes, 985, and Ryan Morris got 650 total votes. When you combine those two, it's 1,635, and so those are 1,635 voters who will vote in the general election. So that means both Josh Neal and Ryan Morris has a big say-so coming up in this general election. They have 985 voters, because I would say that most people who voted didn't vote anti-Neal or anti-Morris, even though there could be those voters out there. It seems like, to me, most of these voted for their guy. And so that means 985 voters voted for Neal, 650 voters voted for Morris. And so therefore, if their endorsement would mean that many votes too. Because if they respected them enough to be the sheriff, then they would respect their endorsement of who they think, would be the coroner, because the coroner's race is a popular race between Denny French and Sue LeGrand, or the judge executive's race. There's Tyler Boaz and Ken McFarland. And actually, this is from the vantage point of Tyler Boaz. If Tyler Boaz wants to beat Ken McFarland, he just needs to look for 1,000 voters. So he needs to get the majority. If he got Josh Neal to endorse him, he wins. Almost, right? He needs 1,000 votes, so he needs 15 more votes. But he'd get 985. So if he could get Neal's endorsement plus 15 more people, then he's won. He's got it, if Tyler Boaz can do that. So they have, incredible amounts of sway. To be disillusioned if you had lost. I mean, it's it was 300 votes or so, but it's a machine. 650 is a machine. So anybody that got one vote, that's power. You actually have people that support you. So anybody that got any votes has endorsement power. So Denny French, Sue LeGrand, Gene Carr. There's I guess there's a county attorney's race. Then there's the sheriff's race, and there's a judge executive. There ain't really a sheriff's race, right? Josh Neal, he won. There's a judge executive's race, sheriff's, there's a judge, county attorney, colonel, and the mayor's race, the Warsaw mayor's race. Nelson Brown, man, I am impressed. Nelson Brown's he's a fighter, man. He stays in there, and I like it. And I hope he gets it. I hope actually he becomes mayor, because with the way they're taking over with all these cities, they took the sovereignty of Glencoe. therefore they don't have, they have no firepower. So really, what power does the mayor have except for economic, and maybe that mayor will get back in there. He's trying to become mayor again. So Warsaw mayor's race, that's also a race that they could weigh in on. So that means they can determine who could be the mayor for Warsaw, Ryan or Josh, or anybody else who got, I guess Denny French has got 560 votes behind him. So his endorsement would mean something. And Sue LeGrand, she got, she's the Republican nomination. Rick Brueggemann, he won, and I guess he has to win again in the general election. So there's actually several, plus the Senate race is the Mitch versus Allison. That'll be versus Marksberry versus Ed Marksberry. I'm throwing my vote. I'm voting for Ed Marksberry. She's not progressive or democratic enough for me. It might change depending on how this campaign goes, but as of June 4th, I'm voting for Ed Marksberry in the Kentucky Senator's race. So yeah, I guess I could just go and explain my numbers. So there's 6,148 total registered voters. More Democrats than Republicans, about 4,000 Democrats and 1,720 Republicans. So Democrats outnumber Republicans 2-1, right? So there's only out of 1/3 are Republican and 2/3 are Democrat. So the vast majority are Democrat, though there is a sizable minority of Republican. 1,635 had voted. So that was out of 3,999, or 4,000 Democrats. 1,635 had voted in the sheriff's race. So what happened to, there's 4,000, but there's only 1,600 so showed up. So what happened to the 1,300 or the 2,300? There's 2,400. There's over 2,000 people that are registered Democrat in Gallatin County who did not go out and go vote. What happened to them? They didn't vote. So those are possible voters. And there's also, basically anybody's possible voters. You can get the people who are registered who didn't go vote. You can get newly registered people, which I thought was actually a big group. But looking at the math, it's they're not as many people as basically the biggest pot of newly to be gotten votes would be the registered voters who are not going out of their house and actually voting. So they've registered, their names are on the voting scrolls, but they're not actually going out and casting their vote. I wonder if any of the lists need to be updated, because it feels to me like there's not as many people going out to go vote, because that's where the pool I think would be, but that's not what the numbers are saying. Because there's, okay, so what's the total amount of you gotta add up the whole thing, right? So there's total amount of people in Gallatin County. Gallatin County is what, like 8,600 people or so, and then there's children. Anybody who's under 18 years old cannot vote, so they're kicked off, right? Because they don't matter. They're under 18. They don't matter when it comes to voting. So okay, so anybody under 18 is automatically gone. So that leaves less than 8,600. And so, let's see, registered but did not vote. So you got about 2,364 Democrats who are registered but didn't go vote. You got 1,300 Republicans who are registered and didn't go vote, and then you got 430 other who are registered but also didn't go vote. So that's 4,000 people right there. And then plus 194 who are unregistered. So there's only 194 people who are unregistered. So that's not even that's a small group. That's smaller than the Green Party and the Independents. And those are small. Okay, those are like very small. So you got 4,282 is the total amount of possible votes to get. So you take the total amount, subtract the children, then you find out how many actually voted, right? And then you add all the rest. So 8,600 minus the kids, so there's probably, what, 7,000, 6,000 or so. Then out of those, there's so many that were registered, so many that had voted, so many that weren't registered that needed to go vote. The total registered voters, there's 4,000 Democrats and 1,720 Republicans. So there's 6,148 total registered voters in Gallatin County. So that's the pot, right? That's the people. And you know, 1,635 voted for the Democrat the sheriff primary. So those are guaranteed voters who will vote in the general election. Then there's 379 GOP senator voters, and then 1,300 Democrat senators. So there's other, you know, there's Republican voters out there. Then there's 1,600 for the coroner's race. So you have 6,148 voters, 5,719 who are registered that we know about, plus the 430 other. You had 200,364 who were registered but did not vote. Democrats, 2,300, I think, Democrats. Yeah, 2,364 Democrats. So you had over 2,000 Democrats who did not vote. And then you had 1,300 Republicans who didn't vote. So I had like 2,000 primary platinum experienced voters, but the majority of 2,000 is just a little bit over 1,000, right? And then any new 4,283, and so the majority was just like, you know, just the majority of those new people. So figured if you can beat 1,041, 42. If you can get 1,042 votes, you will win. Okay, so if you can get 1,042, I put 1,000 plus 3,000 because it's easy to remember, but it's a little bit higher than that. So if you get 1,042, then you'll get the majority votes who are for sure. That's assuming that no new voters vote. So people who voted in the primary voted, and those are the only voters in the general election, which is highly unlikely. So there's going to be more voters and a higher turnout because that's, you know, that's game time. That's when it matters. And also, those voters are going to get more voters out to vote for them. So those are diehard voters, and then those diehard voters are going to try to get more people to increase their, you know, voter prowess, sort of convincing, you know, their influence or whatever. So I guess it's in general. I forget. I wish I would have had the numbers where I had the. Oh yeah, okay. So under 18, we're 2,259. So you had over 2,000 people that was under 18. So that's 8,600. So that's only 6,600. That leaves about 6,600. You know, once you subtract the total, you know, 8,600 is how many people are in Gallatin County. There's 8,600 people, and there's 2,259 children. So you have to subtract 8,600 minus 2,260, and then you get something. What, 6,300 or so. So you get 6,300, and then there was 6,147 were registered. So you already got all of them are already registered. There's only about 200 unregistered voters. So everybody in Gallatin County is registered to vote. That's actually a really incredible number, and hopefully it's true. Hopefully the people are just sitting in their house, registered, but just aren't voting for whatever reason. That seems unlikely, but that seems to be the way the numbers are speaking to me, and the way the numbers are speaking to me now. Right? There's 8,600 voters, or 8,600 people. And so that's minus the 2,300. That leaves about, so 86 minus 2,300. That's 600 and 6,200 or 6,400. I don't know. I'm getting all tongue-tied. I feel like, okay, it's 6,400. So 6,400, and then there's 6,147 registered voters, so therefore there is 250 voters that are unregistered, which is, you know, only 200 or so, right? And plus or minus 5% error on all my data. There's more females than males. There's 3,031. There's 3,177. Females 2,971 males, so that means there's, let's see, 31, there's 208, exactly 208 more females than male. So the women are taking over. There's way more women, which is good for the men, right? So lots of, at least for the registered voters. I think actually overall there's more men than women. But the registered voter crowd, there's more women in the registered voter crowd. So, which is smart. So that's good. That's a good sign, right? The median income of Gallatin County is $43,860. So there's a huge middle class in Gallatin County. Huge middle class. 1640. I don't know. They allowed 50 minutes, but then sometimes if I did, 1500. I want to end it now because it's I'm used to doing 15-minute videos. But I thought this was my Freedom School channel, and so I went ahead and did this hemp lecture series video on my channel instead of actually on the other channel. So it went on for 50 minutes, and it's still up, and so I'm impressed that they didn't cut it off. But here it's 16:20, and so I'm like, well, should I cut it off now? I already went past the time. But I wonder if you cut it close, they're like, oh, there's something up with this. But if you let it go on and on,